Hey there and welcome. If you're writing JavaScript, you're literally building the web we use every single day. But there's a huge difference between code that just works and code that's genuinely great. So today, we're going to dive into the modern playbook for writing JavaScript that's truly exceptional. Let's get right into it.
So I've got a question for you. Your code runs. The feature gets shipped. The ticket is closed. We've all been there. But is it great? Is it efficient? Is it secure? Is it lightning fast? That's the jump we're going to talk about today. How to go from just functional to truly exceptional. And it really just boils down to these three things. First, how you handle your data. Second, how you get that data onto the page for the user to see, and how you do it safely. And third, just how fast the whole thing runs. If you can master these three, you're not just writing code anymore. You're a real craftsman.
All right, so first up, data. It's the lifeblood of pretty much every application, and modern JavaScript gives us this incredible set of tools for working with it, especially when we're dealing with arrays. For a long time, the good old for loop was our go-to for everything. And look, it's still super useful, but modern array methods, we're talking map, filter, reduce, they offer a much more expressive and readable way to get things done. They let you say what you want to do, instead of getting bogged down in the how. So let's start with map. Its job is actually pretty simple, but incredibly powerful. It goes through an array, does something to every single element, and then hands you back a brand new array with all the transformed results. And the really important part, it leaves your original array completely alone. No side effects. And this is a perfect example. We start with an array of strings, right? Bilbo and Gandalf. We then map over it, and for each item, we just ask for its length. What do we get back? A brand new array, 5, 7. Our original array is totally untouched. It's clean, it's predictable, and it's so much easier to read. Okay, next up, we've got filter. And it does exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of like a bouncer for your array. You give it a rule, a test, and filter goes through every item, creating a new array with only the elements that get past the velvet rope. Check this out. We have an array of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. We apply a filter that only lets even numbers through. And what comes out on the other side? A new array with just 2 and 4. The 1 and 3 are left behind. And again, our original array is safe and sound. And now for the real powerhouse of the group, reduce. Now, this one can feel a little intimidating at first, but its core job is to take a whole array and, well, reduce it down to just one single value. That could be a number, a string, an object, anything. It's the Swiss Army knife of array methods for sure. So let's just walk through how this actually works when you're summing up numbers. You start with an initial value, let's say 0. Then reduce grabs that, adds the first item from the array, and holds on to the result. Then it takes that result, adds the next item, and so on, building up this running total until it hits the end of the array and gives you the final answer. All right, so your data looks great. It's all mapped and filtered and reduced. Perfect. The next question is, how do you actually show it to your user? Because the way you put that data onto the web page, well, it's one of the biggest security decisions you're going to make. And that brings us right into our second pillar, how to securely shape the web page. We're talking about the DOM, the Document Object Model. You can think of it as the live blueprint of your site. And messing with it isn't just about making things look pretty, it's about keeping your users safe. Now, on the surface, innerHTML and textContent might look kind of similar, but underneath, they are worlds apart. When you use innerHTML, you're telling the browser, hey, take this string and treat it like real HTML code. That means if there's a script tag in there, the browser's just going to run it. TextContent, on the other hand, says, nope, this is all just plain text. It won't execute a thing, which makes it way, way safer. And look, I really want this next part to sink in. This quote comes from a developer discussion, and it is dead on. Using innerHTML with data you don't control is basically the front-end version of a SQL injection. You are leaving the front door wide open for attackers to inject malicious code into your site for your other users to see. It's a huge deal. So, what's the game plan? It's all about building good habits. Instead of reaching for innerHTML, build your elements safely with createElement and appendChild. If you're going to use an element a bunch of times, find it once and save it to a variable so you're not constantly searching the whole page. And if you have to make a ton of changes, group them together with a document fragment so you only update the live page one time. Okay, we've handled our data, we've secured the DOM. Time for the third and final pillar, and this one is massive: performance. Because let's be real, on the modern web, speed isn't just a nice-to-have, it is the feature. Get this, 103%. According to research from Akamai, that is how much the chance of a user bouncing, just leaving your site, goes up if your page takes an extra 2 seconds to load. We're talking about milliseconds making a real-world difference. Okay, so we've been talking up these modern array methods, right? For their readability and all that. But, and this is a big but, check out this table. When you're talking about pure raw speed over a huge data set, the classic for loop is still king. And that's really the key takeaway here. For 90% of your day-to-day work, the clean, readable code you get from map and filter is absolutely the right choice. But if you're in a critical part of your app and you're crunching hundreds of thousands of items, reaching for that old-school for loop might give you a serious speed boost. It's all about knowing your tools and when to use them. Caching is another huge performance win. Just look at these cache hit rates. You've got client-side options like local storage, which are pretty good. But look at service workers. A well-configured service worker can serve content straight from the cache 96% of the time for people who visited your site before. That makes things feel instantaneous. And hey, remember that document fragment we talked about earlier for security? Well, it's also a secret weapon for performance. Here's why. Every single time you change something on the live page, the browser has to stop and repaint the screen. That process is called a reflow, and it's super slow. By batching all your changes into a fragment, you only cause one reflow instead of dozens. It's a massive win. So let's bring this all home. Writing truly great JavaScript isn't about some secret trick. It's about having a solid approach that balances these 3 critical areas: handling your data smartly, interacting with the DOM securely, and always keeping an eye on performance. So, what can you start doing right now? First, really embrace those modern array methods for cleaner data transformations. Second, make textContent and create_element your default tools for the DOM, and be extremely careful with innerHTML. And finally, measure everything. You can't fix what you don't know is slow. A 100-millisecond delay might seem like nothing to you, but it could be everything to your user. So I want to leave you with this one question. You know your own code. You know where the tricky parts are. Based on everything we've talked about, what's one small change you can make today? Are you going to refactor an old loop to use map? Swap out a dangerous innerHTML? That one change, that's your first step on the path from functional to exceptional. Thanks so much for watching.